slave to one platform, you know, but what makes sense for your business. Because, I mean, really, every business is totally different. I do think there's some one-size-fits-all, but, you know, what works for a twister, you know, person one-on, just based on where your audience spends their time, what type of information they need before they're ready to sort of decide on the dotted line.
All right, guys, I think we're about to get started. Did anyone have any last words or anything before we started on the talking part? Really good food. Okay, looks like we're good. Thanks so much. Great, so welcome to what is our, 12th cake? Yeah, week 12 of cake, which is awesome. Yeah, for those of you who are just coming, just a little introduction to Cake, which is to say it's run by me, I'm Graham, and this is Derek. And yeah, we started it at the first week of this year, and kind of come up with the idea in December and just decided to launch it really fast. And the idea is to do a weekly series of workshops that's donation-based, and to just really get a lot of down and dirty tactics for actual practical business information out there. That just came from a lot of people asking me questions about my small business and how I got it running, and also just going through a lot of business books and realizing that a lot of them are based on models that don't move nearly as fast as our business world moves now, and are based on a lot of like 1950s manufacturing stuff. And you can read through it, and just a lot of the general business advice, if you scour the internet too, is a lot of blogs just kind of regurgitating stuff that's already out there, and you don't even know where to look or what to trust, really. And we come from the perspective very much of not taking investment until you have to, so kind of more of a bootstrap perspective, and string that along as you possibly can. Very low budget, kind of high impact tactics. You know, ours isn't the only perspective out there, so just to let you guys know that, and that we do have a very specific agenda, which is just, yeah, kind of things that will let anyone go ahead and get started. And with that said, I'll just introduce our speaker, which is Derek, for today. And he runs social media for Float-On and works at a social media company called Zoom Media. And yeah, he's just going to be talking about basically the big two of social media, Twitter and Facebook today. And with that, I'll let him take it away.
Thank you, Graham. So, kind of like going back a couple of steps, before Cake came about, like Graham said, I started working with Float-On a little bit, consulting on how they did social media, and I think it was really one of those scenarios where I look at all businesses and then I look at what they do online, and there's a reason kind of behind that, you know, and it's one of those well-spoken things that everybody's BS radar is at an all-time high, you know, and it's been said before by Gary Vaynerchuk, and, you know, there's a lot of people that focus on the BS radar. We start to block out billboards. I mean, most people are texting while they're driving, so who's looking at the big sign on the road, you know? You also think about, like, the newspaper. Who picks up the Oregonian every day and looks at the ads? And nobody's doing that. They're all going to news sites online or Twitter and getting their news. TiVo's invented skipping commercials, you know, so people are not even picking up on that. So it's like, besides all that, those medias are very expensive, you know. To pull a radio spot, you know, who's listening to radio nowadays, everybody has satellite, but to pull a radio spot, it could cost you $2,500 for 30 seconds to maybe not be heard by anybody at all. You really don't have a hard time measuring those results. And so the one thing that I started focusing on when I graduated from college was online media, because most people are going online. They have iPads, they have iPhones, Android. You know, everybody's got a screen now in front of them that's somehow connected to the internet. And that's where I really started seeing the trend happening. So I'm an early adopter, you know. I ditched MySpace really early and jumped on Facebook, and I was one of the few people on Twitter. You know, when it came out, it was still under 1 million people. And I start looking at these new sites like Pinterest and stuff like that, and I start testing them like a scientist. I start looking at, like, you know, everybody else's first reaction is, oh, that looks dumb, that looks stupid, but you know what? The fact of the matter is, a lot of people like dumb and stupid. So, and that's kind of like what I look at is, like, how can I capitalize where the audience is and make money off of it, either for myself or for my clients. And like Graham said, I do social media primarily through online marketing agency in Vancouver, Zoom Media. That's been around for about 2 years now, and I started there on the ground floor, and it's a bootstrap startup as well, and we really focus on unique content and engagement. Those are the kind of the key things I think people are losing a lot in online, is that engagement, making sure you're talking to the customers and finding out what they want. So that's one of the things that I kind of really stress is start looking at the new things people are looking at. Most cases, if you were trying to do a television commercial, like I said, they're really expensive, but also really the large players are in the game. They're the ones that could, afford the high production value and so forth. So as what Cake likes to profess is bootstrapped, lean startups, is start where it costs no money to advertise. Craigslist was something we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Places where all it takes is your time. And really that's all the equity you have is sweat equity when you're starting your business. So how do people get noticed? The two big ones I talk about are Facebook and Twitter. Primarily they're the biggest two social networks. You look at Facebook, it has 800 million active users worldwide. We're looking at to the point where they're almost at 900 million. I think they might even said they have 1 billion accounts active. That's 1/7 of the world's population is on Facebook. I didn't even know 1/7 of the world's population had internet still, But you look at those and it's really how we communicate nowadays because we're so busy with work, we hardly get a chance to see friends. We want to see what the people in high school are doing. We don't go to our high school, reunions anymore because we're friends with our, friends from high school on Facebook. I mean, I didn't go to my high school reunion. I knew everything about everybody and I saw them between 1998 to 2008. I didn't need to see anything else. Twitter's the other one that's kind of one of those unsung heroes of online marketing that I think people really need to stop thinking it's about what I had for breakfast and more about like how can I make new connections. We can spend all the time going to networking events. Oh, have a seat. We can spend all this time going to networking events and meeting people face to face, but that literally takes, however long it takes for you to go to the Hotel Deluxe for the networking event, then the 2 hours you spend there, and then the half an hour to drive back home, and then now you got to think, oh, who did I meet, and so forth, and their contact information. Then you got to make that like awkward reconnect with them. And, face-to-face networking is really difficult to get going. And I think Twitter is one of those tools where you can kind of casually have a conversation with people, get to know them slowly, and start building that bond where it's less time consuming. And we'll talk a little bit more about like why you shouldn't spend hours a day online marketing. Really social media marketing can be done as little as a half an hour a day if done properly with the right tools. And so that's one of the things that I kind of want to, disclaimer is kind of push aside the skepticism. Start looking at everything as an opportunity for you to be the information leader, the thought leader, the brand people look to online, and really it's going to help you years down the road when everybody's doing it. So if you're one of the early adopters, you build an audience, you build a community, when everybody's doing it, people are going to know that you're the source to go to and that the rest of them are just kind of late bandwagon jumpers. So with that said, I kind of want to refer to Graham if he thinks that anything about that needs to kind of be expanded upon.
Yeah, totally. I'll just chime in a tiny bit. Just to say that, I completely agree with everything that you've been saying so far, and it's a really good introduction to the social media side of things. Also, just my own take on it, and what we use a lot in Float On Media, and I know Derek agrees on a lot of this, is that it comes from this idea of almost like a conversation-based society. Like it used to be, we'd have conversations with our neighbors and talk to people about things and get suggestions from our friends and whoever happened to be around. That never really stopped, but at some point there was kind of a weird period where we didn't have like that close connection with everyone in our town, but we also didn't have ways to communicate with all of our friends who are starting to get more spread out. And social media kind of fills in that gap, and you'll notice things going more and more back to just like what your friends on Facebook recommend. Like if I want to go out to a good Italian restaurant, I don't, look up reviews online anymore. I just type on Facebook, like hop on there and say like, hey, where's a good Italian place to go? And see, just kind of crowdsource it and see what my friends type in. So social media is like the act of just personalizing your business and turning this idea of like advertising and one-way communication into a two-way street, and just is a chance, I would say, to be more human. And the businesses that I see using social media really poorly are the ones that still stay faceless. So they're just kind of making big corporate announcements, or even like clever social media things, like posts that get shared a lot but aren't really saying anything. And I think, that communication, like Derek said, is really the strong point. So that's my little interjection.
Exactly, and kind of to expand upon that, there's a great book out there, and going back to how everybody's saying the same thing, it's just kind of like Cake tries to funnel all of that into kind of what we recommend, we believe, so you don't have to read all the blogs out there that say the same thing. And one of the kind of quote-unquote gurus online that I kind of turn to is a wine guy by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. And he's a book author, produced 2 books now. He made his millions literally selling wine. He started as a kid in the basement of his parents' liquor store and just started kind of paying attention to the business that was going on and found out that people collect wine much like they collect baseball cards. And as a kid, he kind of understood, baseball cards are a commodity and people pay high amounts for the Mickey Mantle rookie card and so forth. So he started making a correlation. Then, as soon as the internet came out, he saw the opportunity that I can get out of New Jersey and reach the world. He jumped online immediately and started literally making millions doing videos and getting on Twitter early on and being one of those people that's the first in whatever is the next big thing. Whether it fails or not, again, it goes back to now he's looked at as not the wine guy anymore. He's the online marketing person to go to, and he actually has created his own VaynerMedia online marketing company out of New Jersey that does Harrah's casinos now. So he's really turned it into his core business. One of the books that kind of expands upon what Graham was talking about is his recent one called The Thank You Economy.
The what?
The Thank You Economy. And it kind of goes back to the new way of customer service, is just going back one-on-one and thanking your customers for being a part of your business. There's many ways to track the customers that come into your business nowadays. People are using Facebook and apps like Foursquare to check in and say, hey, I'm currently at the East Bank Saloon, come have a drink with me. If East Bank Saloon was savvy enough to see that person said, I'm here, a couple hours later or even half an hour later, they'd be wise to go, hey, thanks for stopping by. If there's anything we can do to make it better, let us know. And you're building that bond, that connection. So even as a brand, a faceless brand, who owns East Bank Saloon, you still have that personal contact that people feel empowered to talk to at any given point in time. So that's really what the Thank You Economy talks about, is customer service departments turning into thank you departments and being proactive on the front instead of only handling complaints, going out and saying, hey, thanks for, of all the places to picking us. And so that's the book I would highly recommend if you kind of want to get your mind wrapped around how to use social media in a proactive way. Gary Vaynerchuk, you can even YouTube him. Most of his speeches are about an hour long, but they pretty much cover everything in the book. I mean, he's very forthright about, hey, if you can't afford my book, I'm just going to basically hit all the highlights right here. And he's definitely one to look to. So kind of like, why do we recommend social media? And as I touched upon earlier, it's inexpensive. It literally can cost you $0 and a little bit of time in order to establish a presence. So that's kind of one of the CAKE methodologies. Start small, start scrappy, and get it done. The nice thing about that is people opt into your messaging. People aren't dumb, even though, like I said earlier, they like dumb things. They know that when I go to Pizza Schmitza is going to be talking about pizza. Let's face it, they're not going to be talking about, what's happened in, Egypt, revolutions or anything like that. They're going to be saying, this is the flavors we have today. Hey, how about those Blazers and Timbers, etc. And so it's one of those things that when they have 1,600 fans on Facebook and 1,300 followers on Twitter, those people are saying, yes, we like you so much, we want to opt into your messaging and maybe even chat with you. So that's kind of the brilliant thing about social media, is now like our BS radars, we're kind of like detecting all the bullshit, skipping through the commercials and so forth. Now we're slowing down and saying, let's take a look at some of these advertisements. There might be something in it for me. I might get a coupon or something like that. And so that's one of the main ways, and the shareability of social media. If I like something so much, I'm going to share it with my friends. Well, if you're already on a platform that they're sharing on, it makes it that one button click to retweet it or share it on Facebook that helps your message, quote unquote, go viral. And there's no guaranteed way to make your message go viral. It just has to be that right time, place, and content. But really, it helps if it's good content and you're doing it on the right platform. So kind of one of the things I want to kind of encourage people to kind of start putting their mind around is, what kind of perks can I give customers, rewarding them for opting into my messaging? Whether it be exclusive content or giveaways or something to say, hey, again, if it's not a one-on-one thank you, a thank you for following us. Because that's one of those key things I think that will help you build that relationship when you don't know who to talk to, especially when you have 1,300 people. How do I know this is the person I need to strike a conversation up with? And so that's kind of one of those things that start kind of wrapping around how can we do that. And kind of a testament to that is Cake. Cake is 100% marketed through social media. Up until maybe the last week, I did a Craigslist ad just to kind of prove and test what we were talking about that week. But other than that, I just started slowly reaching out to people on Facebook and Twitter and starting to be a part of conversations as Cake. Even though I have my own personal Twitter account, I started developing Cake as I would a client. And the word's gotten out. I mean, we have new faces here today that, have never been here before. So it's one of those slow rolling things that if you're patient with, it will grow. And kind of another caveat is if you're in social media expecting results today or tomorrow, then go focus on paying money on an ad, because you're not going to get results on social media today or tomorrow. It's a long-term relationship. It's the same thing, just look at a personal relationship. You don't want to have a long-term relationship with somebody you hooked up that night. There's no value in that relationship. You got what you want out of them and you're done. But if you want literally that long-term relationship, you got to slow roll it. You got to court them before you marry them, kind of thing. And this is not all new information. You can YouTube a lot of the similar things that I'm saying and so forth. And Thank You Economy is one book I highly recommend. Unmarketing by Scott Stratton. That's another one of those online marketing books that I think kind of revolutionized and helped lead the way about how to share content online, how to not be a douchebag on the internet, because people, see that all the time. Spam, buy this, win this, be in a free iPad. You can still do win this on occasion, but you have to earn that right in the relationship.
What was the name? I'm sorry, what was the author's name again?
Scott Stratton.
Stratton.
So he's also on Twitter as @unmarketing. So if you're on Twitter, follow Unmarketing. That's the name of his book. He's got a new book coming out, I think, this spring, so it'll be interesting, sometime towards late spring. Gary Vaynerchuk is @GaryVee, Gary V. He's an excellent one to follow, too, just to kind of get an insight on how these leaders in the industry are using social media. And there's another great website, a resource that I go to if you're really into the scientific method of finding out about your customers and how they use social media and to kind of be on the forefront. Go to HubSpot. HubSpot is a online marketing site.
Yeah, I just
you familiar with that?
Well, you just sent. There was something sent out from Cake. What was it? It just sent out today.
About what to tweet.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah,
yeah.
It was good.
And all their HubSpot, all their stuff is free for the most part. You will get oftentimes emails to buy into a webinar or hey, buy our software service. But they've earned the right by giving you all this great free information by asking every once in a while to buy something. You don't have to, and they'll still keep sending you great information. They're an excellent site that really, the guy who is the leader is Dan Zarella. He calls himself the social media scientist. And he really takes, groups and samples of Twitter users using Twitter's API or Facebook's API or just even by surveys, and he starts to break down the data on how they use it and what time of day they use it and what they respond to the best. So if you're kind of wanting to get some deep ideas about building your strategy and your campaign, couldn't speak any more highly of HubSpot than I already have. So that kind of leads into getting down into it. Now that I've kind of sold you on why you need to do it, I think you're kind of already sold since you're already on social media, hence why you found out about us and why you're already here. Before I get into that, if Graham wants to talk about anything before we kind of jump into setting up profiles and stuff like that.
No, you're great. And you'll probably talk about this later, but I really like the emphasis you put on earlier on kind of getting those followers that are really engaged with what you're doing, rather than trying to kind of boost the vanity metrics of just having more followers or more tweets retweeted or anything like that. Like that, right. The engagement and the amount of personal conversations you have, I think, is way more important than big numbers.
Right, and we can kind of jump there a little bit right now in the sense of everybody kind of is always looking at what's the ROI of what I'm doing right now. If I run an ad in the newspaper, I want to track how many people bring in that coupon to see if that newspaper ad paid for itself. Or, you know, if I did that radio spot, I've got to trust that maybe I put in a unique phone number that people call, and I can track how many calls were made to that phone number. You know, there's a lot of ways to kind of track the ROI of things, and kind of like the ROI of social media can be a little false if you're not analyzing it right. You know, don't look for those vanity metrics like Graham said. Don't be so obsessed and concerned about how many followers and fans you have. As long as the followers and fans you have are engaged with what you're doing, sharing what you're doing, and are kind of become advocates of who you are, that's a win right there. Because there's very few times that people will go to their friends, hey, did you hear that radio spot? Did you see that billboard off of the 84? It's really awesome. They never do that. So it's kind of one of those things. Those are the things in social media that you lack in traditional media. And I'm a fan of traditional media. I think without traditional print marketing, you can't have social media. You know, how do you bridge the gap? How do you get people to jump from, you know, not being online to being online? You know, you kind of have to be where they are first and kind of pull them in your direction. So I'm not saying never put an ad in the paper or Craigslist or anything like that. Just be smart about it when you do it. But one of the things kind of like I want to touch upon is just like building any message, any kind of crafted display piece, you kind of want to make sure it looks right. Oftentimes people just say, oh, set up a Facebook page and start producing content. And when people land on that, they kind of go, okay, there's no pictures. The content you're kind of doing is just a link and no thought put behind it. And those what could have been early adopters are turned off on what you're doing. So I think a lot of the times what people don't focus on is how to kind of construct your page and your profile to kind of be appealing to the eye and kind of do that 15-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you do and how to reach you. And I think it's kind of important. So I want to kind of touch upon, you know, first of all, on Facebook, make sure you're doing a Facebook page. You know, me as Derek Wyatt, I have a friend profile. Okay? Me as Cake, I have a fan page. And it's important to kind of determine the two. One, it's a violation of Facebook's terms of conditions if you have a business as a person on Facebook. So if I am, you know, the Blitz Pub in Portland, I have Blitz Pub, the friend page, and you can friend me. That's a violation, actually. Facebook kind of wants to break down that privacy and make sure that brands aren't able to privately message you and spam you because they're protecting their own. If I'm on Facebook and all I'm doing is I'm friending Blitz Pub and now they can privately message me every 30 seconds, I don't want to be a part of that. So they really encourage you and force you to open up a fan page. And kind of one of the things I want to keep in mind with a fan page is fill out everything possible. You know, your address, your phone number, your Twitter handle, your website, a little bit about who you are, put up some pictures of your business or your products that you do. Make it inviting for people. To kind of land on and go, okay, I kind of like this. I like the color scheme of the pictures or so forth, and this is a place I want to opt into. Same thing with Twitter. You can actually customize your Twitter background. And so that's kind of, you can add little bonus information and so forth on the Twitter website by customizing your background, maybe having your phone number there. Because Twitter is kind of one of those information restrictive things where you can only have like 140 characters or 160 characters in your bio. And so you really have to kind of get creative on how you tell your story in such a short amount of time. And kind of be consistent with your branding across all platforms. You want people to land on your Facebook page and have it look like your Twitter page and have it look like your website. So kind of try to keep the same fonts, color schemes, logos, the same kind of voice in your messaging. That'll just kind of make people rest assured that they're at the right place, especially when you're early on and I don't know the difference between East Bank Saloon and Restaurant and the pub, you know, East Bank Pub if there was anything. So that's kind of one of the things that kind of just be consistent with everything. Consistent with your URLs. You know, if your website is cakepdx.com, make sure your Twitter handle is cakepdx. Make sure your Facebook URL is facebook.com/cakepdx. Make sure your YouTube, make sure whatever you do is as close to possible of being the same name. So if I know you as CakePDX and I just search it into YouTube, I'm going to come up with your channel by happenstance, even if I don't know your URL. And so that's kind of one of those early on things that people kind of skip through because they want to jump right into the messaging, and you kind of have to build your house before you invite people into it. And so once you have everything kind of built, you'll kind of want to promote it. You know, that's the whole point of why you're online. You kind of want to invite people in. You start with your closest friends, people that are going to kind of understand that it's not completely full of awesome content. You know, so early on it's a vanity metric, but at the same time, it's going to be the people who are going to be loyal to you. It's going to be the people who aren't going to troll you and say, oh, this looks like crap. That's going to happen. You're going to have to kind of build tough skin to that later on down the road. But it's nice if you have a bunch of your friends on board early on, and that first person that does it gets torn apart by everybody else. You don't have to defend yourself. You got your army to do it for you. So it's one of those things like invite your closest friends through the invite function on your page. Invite by email is a new function on Facebook that I'm not a fan of in the sense of like doing it to your entire email list, but invite all your friends, your personal contacts through that might not be on Facebook or that you might not be friends with yet on Facebook. And kind of one of those things with keeping on the Facebook track is Facebook ads. I want to touch on that and kind of make it a point that right now Facebook is doing a $50 ad credit to small businesses. And so you have to be at least 50 likes on your Facebook page. And for the most part, and I've experienced the contrary, you have to be a physical brick and mortar location. And that's one thing you can kind of work around. They've been so quick to give out the Facebook credit, they're not vetting the process. So you can put an address for the vetting period, you know, and kind of say, this is my address for right now, or P.O. box or something like that. Question?
Oh, I'm just trying to think of it. I mean, if, like, for example, primarily everything's done out of my house.
Right.
So I'm not technically brick and mortar.
Right.
I have stuff in retail outlets and all that sort of thing. But since my business is registered as my house,
right.
I mean, that should work, right?
That should work too. And oftentimes you can just say your location, like Portland, Oregon, if you don't want to give your specific location. Like I said, if you jump now,
I'm sure
and they're actually ending the Facebook ad credit April 1st. So go for that credit now. I put a link on Cake's Facebook page and so forth. Apply for it. Akiko did it with 50th Season Design. You got approved right away, pretty much, didn't you?
Yeah, like within that day.
Yeah. They say 48 hours, but you'll get your Facebook credit within the day. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how quickly they're approving it. And use it up, and there's ways to craft a good Facebook ad and hyper-target your Facebook ads. Make sure that the people you want to bring onto your page are the people you want to do business with. Some people will just like a random page on Facebook or click through to see what it's more about. That's going to cost you money if they unlike you or they'd never like you to begin with. So make sure you maybe target your competitor. People who are friends of my competitor's page. Get down to like a little bit of struggle back and forth with a little bit of hardcore competition by just competing directly with the space if you're doing a Facebook ad with your competitors. And that's kind of really what I have to say about starting up a Facebook page and promoting it. As far as Twitter is going to be a lot slower in the process of how you want to grow your following. You can be a little bit more proactive on Twitter too. Facebook is kind of where people who already know who you are land for more content. Twitter is where you're going to kind of start the relationship. It's the cold introduction. So with Twitter, you kind of want to start following a small group of people that you identify with. I would recommend not following celebrities because they're hardly ever going to like your page back. It's almost a vanity metric early on, just because you want to kind of have some followers to get some followers. If you have friends who are already on Twitter, or have them follow you as well. But at the same time, find an industry or your niche and find your competitor. Who's following your competitor? You can find that out on Twitter and start following each one of those people. And vet the process a little bit so you're not wasting your time. Make sure they're people local to where you want to do business. Make sure they're people who express interest in what you do and that they're not just a spam bot. That's kind of a common thing on Twitter is people setting up these robots to kind of scour the internet and put up fake deals and so forth. So there's a lot of that on Twitter. So Twitter has 140 million active users and about 350 million accounts. So the ratio of like fake accounts to active ones is less than like Facebook, for example, because Facebook's pretty good at turning you off if you're not active and so forth. or at least that's what they're reporting because they're going for an IPO. But you know, try to build those small personal relationships. Start following people and look at the last 10 tweets of their stream and see if you can comment on something that you feel comfortable commenting about or know about. Or congratulate them on something. If somebody says, "Yay, I just won such and such," be like, "Sweet, that's awesome, congratulations." You know, and they're like, "Who's this person?" "Oh, okay, cool, I kind of like that," and follow you back. And there's methodologies. After give it a month or so, there's applications like who.unfollowed.me that you can link up to your Twitter account. It'll tell you everybody who's not following you back. So who.unfollowed.me is one of those things that they have a paid version, but even the free version will tell you these people are currently not following you back. And you don't want to unfollow all of them. There might be some people that are the harder to get business. You might want to continue to follow them. But the people instantly that they never responded back to what you said, or if they did and they never followed you back, unfollow them and move on. Find new business. And that way, the important thing about Twitter is you want to keep your follower and following ratio. You want to be following less people than are following you. So it's kind of one of those things. Early on, starting off, you're going to, by the nature of the beast, be following more than are following you back because you're starting off, right? 0 people are following you. The very first person you follow, now you're off on your ratio. So I would say try not to do any more than 10% starting off as far as like a good number to overfollow. That way when people do land on you, you don't look like, in the Twitter community, there's this weird thing, like I said, the spam bots, people who try to, the team follow backs, people that try to get you to follow them back, and that's all I'm in the game for. I want a high vanity number. They're going to see you as that if they see that ratio that's off. At least the savvy enough Twitter users. And those are the kind of the ones that you want to kind of go for because they're the ones that understand it, they're going to engage with you more, they might become advocates. And so that's kind of one of the things I want to have you keep in mind is build a good profile and then start to, kind of do a little bit of maintenance. And who.unfollow.me takes very little time. It might take you 2 minutes to unfollow people who aren't following you back. There's a service right now, it's a little clunky because they're going through some growth spurts. It's called Twunfollow, twunfollow.com. They will email you every time somebody unfollows you. So if you make it a part of your daily regimen to say, okay, I'm just going to unfollow the people who have unfollowed me today, it'll alert you within 48 hours. And like I said, they're a little slow right now because they're wildly popular and Facebook's API keeps changing, so they have to kind of keep up with the times. And those are just 2 real quick things with Twitter. And I'm a big Twitter fan. I'm also a big Twitter fan of doing it efficiently. I think people can get too caught up in just following what's going on in the stream. And the one thing I want to stress, and I'll get into a couple of tools later on, is do it efficiently. Don't spend more than maybe 10 minutes on Twitter 3 times a day, or maybe a good half-hour chunk in the morning when your audience is on. Those are kind of the things I wanted to stress is try to be when your audience is online. So think about if your audience is stay-at-home moms, you kind of probably want to be online when they've dropped the kids off at school and are watching TV and playing on the internet. It's about the 10 o'clock hour. Most kids are in school by that time, and now they've kind of taken a deep breath after getting rid of the kids and kind of relaxing and doing their own thing or starting their day. And we'll go into kind of the time of day and when to tweet and stuff like that. But start thinking about that type of stuff. And HubSpot has an excellent report called The Science of Timing that really breaks down when you should be tweeting. And kind of what I want to get into is that right now. HubSpot put out the report Science of Timing. They talk about basically, depending on where you live, they have a different metric. So if you want to attract people nationwide, if you're selling a product through your website and you want to reach people on the East Coast and the West Coast, try to cater more to the East Coast people. 80% of the entire United States population lives in Central and Eastern time zones. So, that's the majority of the public. And so let's say they're online at 8 o'clock in the morning. That means you got to start tweeting at 5 a.m. And then you got to tweet again at 8, 9, 10 a.m. when your Pacific time people are on. So when it comes to Twitter, you really have to, I would say 10 times a day is a good time to tweet. And you don't have to sit there 10 times a day and be on it. There's excellent scheduling tools where if you're creating content, you can schedule your tweets to go out, like Hootsuite's one I use. Hootsuite, you can basically spend your first 10 minutes of your day, aggregating content, stuff you want to share out, and just say, put this at this time, this at this time, this at this time, so it's constantly going throughout the day, so your message is being reached. Yeah, Hootsuite, Hoot.
I almost downloaded that the other day.
It's fantastic, and there's a mobile application for it, and if you're really savvy, you can upload entire contents on an Excel spreadsheet. You can do 50 tweets at a time with a simple upload. And don't get too overboard. Like I said, you want to maintain about 10 tweets coming out from you a day, and spaced apart, maybe once every 2 hours for the time being. Or if people are really heavy online, and the one thing I want to stress is test when your people are online. HubSpot science timing is not perfect. It's a sample of the majority of Twitter users, but if you're a bar, most of your people probably aren't up at 6 in the morning. They might be online at 7 o'clock at night deciding what they want to do before they go out. So you might have to tweet heavy towards when your audience is on, and you'll be able to track that using tools like Hootsuite, or another one is called Buffer-App. Buffer-App, Buffer-App. And I'll put all these links. I'm going to write a blog for Cake in the next couple of days. And I've already put these links up on a prior thing we did called the Weapons of Choice. It's kind of the stuff we use to kind of be efficient in what we do. And those two tools, I think, are kind of critical for Twitter side of things. When it comes to Facebook, to be honest with you, what I personally stand behind is organically post on Facebook. You don't want to schedule on Facebook, and there's a reason for this. Facebook, again, is protective of their number one person. That's them. And they're going to start throttling the amount of times you can post, or with their new news ticker that kind of goes the Facebook, inside Facebook, that kind of is up in the upper right-hand corner. If you post on that, it's not going to show up if you use like RSS graffiti or any of these like auto-populate. If you use Hootsuite or even if you use Buffer-App for Facebook, it's not going to show up there. And that's usually little notifications like so-and-so posted a photo today. It's not going to show up in that. And so if people are surfing Facebook and they see your brand, oh, well, they might have a deal. You're not going to show up if you're auto-scheduling your Facebook posts. So that's kind of one thing. Your Facebook, you kind of maybe want to do no more than twice a day, simply because Facebook people tend to scroll down more and look at content over a longer period of time than they do on Twitter. And so if you do once in the morning and once in the evening, I think you hit your two core audiences. Again, just for generic purposes, 10 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night, two probably best times for the Portland area if you're a Portland business, simply because that's when the majority of users are online. I was trying to turn the lights on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so that's the other thing to keep in mind is Twitter data turns over more. There's more turns on Twitter data, and so people aren't scrolling back 6 hours to see what's posted on Twitter, because it can literally, if you think, if I told you to tweet 10 times a day and you're following 300 people, damn, that's a lot of crap that's going through Twitter. And so people are only going to go back an hour maybe. And so you can tweet more. Whereas Facebook, people will go back 6 hours. And so you don't want to be the chatty person. Nobody likes the chatty Cathy at the party. People kind of want to, oh, you have something awesome to say, I'm going to listen. But if you're always talking, people are going to stop listening. And that's kind of just the rule of thumbs on Facebook and Twitter. We talked about kind of when to post. Really, that kind of is something to be tested. When is your audience online? But what to post is key. The message creation that you're putting out there, I think, is what's going to help build your audience. It's the awesome that gets people to share your message. And so the number one thing that I kind of would say is refer back to our copywriting workshop that was just the other week. There's an excellent kind of checklist if you're building a message, and you're a copywriting expert, so you can attest to a lot of this, is, sometimes start with your body, then work your headline. Because if you try to create your message based off of what your headline is, you're going to be at a writer's block. So kind of just say what you want to say and then kind of sum it up with your headline. And go back through Cake's workshop and kind of listen to some of the tips about it. Also, brevity is excellent on social media. You don't want to put a paragraph. If in doubt, think about how when you surf Facebook or when you surf Twitter, you're not going to sit there and scroll back and go, oh, look, a novel to read. Let me stop my process to read this whole thing. Short headlines under 140 characters, a sentence long, are going to be ideal for sharing, because you're basically going to sum up, hey, look at this. And the look at this that is very effective are pictures. People love photos. There's something easy to consume, and there's something that a lot of people are visual, and you can say something with words, and it's interpreted by many different people, but you really can't misinterpret a picture. It is what it is. And that's the number one thing actually to share on Facebook that gets shared and viewed the most. Going back to HubSpot, one of the researches they did was 180% more over the number 2 as far as what's shared online is photos. People love photos, and think in memes. If you're on Facebook, you always see the memes that go on, the Dos Equis guy, when I'm online, this stuff, it's messed up. It's the dumb that people like. It's, Facebook, social media, Twitter, it's an escape from reality. So people do like to dumb it down and go, ha, that's cool. Photos are kind of one way you can kind of do that. And have fun with your photos. Have it be something that you just created. Have it be something that went awesome in your shop. If you had a customer come in that was just like raving about it, hey, mind if I take a picture of you and post it online holding my product? And like, sure. They're going to be like going to your Facebook and saying, I'm on such and such's Facebook page. They thought it was awesome. Try to get people involved in it. If you're running a company that has more than just you, get your employees involved. Make sure they all know your Twitter and your Facebook and your YouTube or whatever social media you choose. Make sure they all know how to find it. Make sure they're contributing it. Make sure in their mind, in your employee orientation, that you're saying, hey, anything awesome comes around, take a picture of it. Write it down. Let me know. Text it to me. That way you're capturing the great stuff that's going on in your store. So pictures is kind of, when I post for clients, I post mostly pictures, and there's a reason for that. When I talked about posting twice a day, and I say this online, there might be it might be ramifications, but Facebook has a small glitch. If you share a photo in the morning just to your wall, you can take that same photo and repurpose it and designate it to a particular album, and it will refresh that photo in your timeline, in your news ticker, and still keep all the engagement. And I encourage you to try it. If you post a photo at 9 in the morning, and you have a photo album, let's say, I'm going to use a Kiko, and you do, upcycling, and you make a lot of bags and so forth. You just post a bag onto your wall, and then say, okay, it is what it is, come back like 6 hours later. If you have a bags album or some kind of album, you can take that photo and edit your albums and take that photo and put it in a new album. It's still going to keep all the likes and comments you had throughout the day and put it as you just posted it 20 seconds ago. And that's a little hack, a little trick that I use. And when Facebook is forcing pages to go to the new timeline function like people are, they turned it off a little bit. I kind of got worried because that was my bread and butter. And that was how I was able to take one piece of content and turn it into 2 at the optimal times of the day. And I tested it out recently, and it's back on, and it's working beautifully. It shows up, again, it's an organic post, so it shows up in the news ticker and it shows up in the news feed. Dual purpose, no matter what they're searching for, your post is going to be there. So those are kind of like, that's why I'm so heavy on photos outside of the hard data that proves that people like them, is the fact that you can turn one piece of content into 2. The next thing that gets shared quite a bit and looked at quite a bit on Facebook and Twitter are links. People like, they're consuming information, and if you say, hey, this is really awesome, you should read this because, people are going to click through, and they're going to kind of see you as an information or a thought leader, and they're going to continue to like your page because you're going to share great things that are happening. If you're an electronics store, you're going to want to share the latest hot news about the iPad. Sure, everybody else is doing it, but at the same time, if you construct your message properly, it will get shown. So there's an issue with Facebook. iPad came out this last week. Everybody's talking about the iPad. If everybody's talking about something, it's going to say, Derek Wyatt and 23 others mentioned iPad. Don't mention iPad. Say, hey, great new product from Apple. That keyword that's showing up in everybody's feed that's getting all chunked together is based off of what you type in there. Because only Facebook knows really your header. So it's like, Merry Christmas, everybody! Christmas is going to be clumped together with the 400 other people of your friends that said Merry Christmas. But if you say, you know, hey, I hope everybody has a great day with family.
So for example, say some viral videos.
Right.
Everyone's posting, so everyone gets clumped into that thing. So it's not pulling off of the title of that video.
It's doing both because you're sharing a unique link.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's a good point. If you're sharing a link, if everybody's sharing CNN.com/whatever, it's going to get grouped.
Okay.
But if you found a unique piece of content that was about something that everybody was talking about,
Okay, gotcha.
that's how you can kind of circumvent getting grouped together by calling it by its other name or something like that. And it's kind of one of those tricks, again, that you want to think about when you're posting to Facebook is try to be a distinct message. If everybody's talking about something, try to say, hey, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, but say it in a different way so you can encourage people to click through.
Because I know that for me sometimes, so I have two different Facebook. I have like my companies, right, local, and then I have my personal one. Well, you know, not because there's different people subscribed to Be Local than there is my own. Sometimes I cross post,
Right.
And what I've noticed is, of course, it clumps them together.
Same link, yeah.
So if I can figure out a way to pull those apart.
But in that particular case, it's you. And I would be pretty close to bet that your friends are pretty much what you have on Facebook. So if they're opted into both, and it's your link, then they see you and Be Local shared this. They only see two, and it happened to both be you. So that's great. And that's a good thing to be concerned about. But you know, maybe if you are one of the people that friend 5,000 people, and you know you'll just friend anybody under the sun. Yeah, that's something you might have to be concerned about. But if your friends are, for the most part, also fans of your page, then that's a good problem to have. Then they see it twice and they know it's both from you, and it's only you that's sharing it twice. So that's a good question, though. I mean, that's something definitely to be concerned about, is getting buried in Facebook. Because Facebook was trying to prevent the problem that Twitter was having, was constant stream of information of everybody was posting. So they tried to prevent their own, like, how can we start grouping posts together? And so that's kind of like what they started doing, is taking keywords that were popular and grouping them together. Lastly, and kind of I went in the order of what's most popular to post as far as shareability to least. Videos, actually, oddly enough, the popularity of YouTube, are one of the least liked and viewed things on Facebook. Go back to like the whole, I don't have time to read a paragraph. Well, I certainly don't have time to watch a 5-minute video if I'm only on Facebook 10 minutes a day. I'm going to take up half of my time to watch this video? And then your piece of content never got viewed.
That's really interesting. I would have never thought.
I would have never thought it either.
Reviews my videos, even if they're like the coolest interviews. Nobody else, not even like I never.
Not even
liked
friends,
on them.
yeah.
Yeah, nothing at all. I'm like, no, why don't you
Is it easier to share videos on Twitter, do you find, or?
Yeah, because a lot of times.
Because you can make a short URL and
Yeah, you
know
can.
what they're linking to. So
Video are some of the most popular.
Yeah, videos are popular on Twitter. And there's a place for videos, and if the video is something you own, like from your own personal YouTube channel, you're going to want to make sure that the keywords are rich, and you want to tailor everything so when people search YouTube, which happens to be the third most used search engine on the internet, yeah, people search YouTube just as much as they search Google. Coincidentally, it's owned by the same company. You know, great market. You know, but you want to make sure like your YouTube videos are keyword and titles that people are going to search. But as far as shareability, people might watch it, they might share it, but nobody else, it's not going past that point. Because again, put yourself in the perspective. You think, oh, I'm going to share this great interview, I want to share this great production thing that I did. Okay, when was the last time you spent time on Facebook to watch a 10-minute video?
That's true. I was just going through my mind. It's like, when's the last time I actually watched someone's
It's
video?
you know, marketing is customer psychology. It's kind of like, you know, if you don't have a psychology background, just put yourself into the what would I do situation. How do I behave online? And chances are it's going to be pretty much the same result. You have anything to kind of add upon what to post and the kind of content to share?
No, that's great. We're getting near where we should
Start breaking? Okay, so we're
for break, but yeah.
So what time is it right now?
It is we got 7:15.
Okay, so I'm one of those chatty people that said nobody likes to listen to. So, and it's perfect because I kind of got through the bulk of how to design your page, how to post, what to post, when to post, kind of things that carry forward. And I'm a fan of traditional media. Mary everything you do offline with what you do online. Your flyer in the newspaper should have, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and don't just stop there. Put the actual shortened link, facebook.com/CakePDX. Because there might be a bunch of other, cake places in Portland. And so it's going to come up with everybody. Now, where's that Cake PDX? Luckily, my avatar is the same across the board, so they'll find me, but not everybody is that keen and savvy. And oftentimes people don't think about searching Facebook for the name. They just go there. So give them that extra breadcrumb to finally land where you're at. And everything you do, try to mention where you are online. If you do products and you have product tags, mention you're on Twitter and Facebook. It's just a really important thing. It takes the people who aren't online and brings them to online. And I'm not saying from you're going to convince somebody to join Facebook for the first time, but they're going to like you on Facebook as a result of seeing something that wasn't on Facebook. So it's just kind of a great way to take a customer and turn it into a fan. And that's really kind of the main goal, is you want to get your customers to kind of adopt and become brand evangelists and share with what you do. And overall, there's a couple of specifics. I talked about the repurposing. People love giveaways, and don't be sleazy with your giveaways. Don't be like, I will donate $5,000 to this charity if I get 5,000 likes. Just donate to charity. Quit holding it hostage with your likes. And that's a douchey move to do. It's like, I will only donate if it's like save this kid and feed him, like my page. You don't want to do that. So give away your product. Say, I'm doing a weekly giveaway to all of my Facebook fans every time I hit 50 new likes or something like that. And that's a great way for people, hey, like this page, and you can be entered in on a contest. And those contests can be kind of hard to curate the entries on, so you might want to have a way to capture that, not a landing page, because you want people to kind of land on your content, but have a tab, have a link specific Facebook tab that says enter your email address here. You might have to know a little bit of HTML, but make it easy for people to enter in. Or there's also a way to go back through all your fans, put them in a spreadsheet, monitor when you get new fans, put their name into the spreadsheet. So there might be a little front-loading work to do to kind of make sure you have all your entries there and just add to it as you get new fans. That's a great little quick tip. Big thing about Twitter, if you don't understand it, get on it and just listen. Don't do anything, but just look how people tweet, listen to how they tweet, see the kind of content that inspires you to click through and start taking mental notes as to what you want to be like on Twitter. Same thing with Facebook. If you've never really understood how a Facebook page acts as a brand, just sit back and watch a bunch of them. Like your favorite energy drink, and Red Bull's an excellent Facebook timeline. If you go to Red Bull's Facebook page, they really took the timeline and ran with it. They went back to all the way 1980. You could add events in, and they really have turned the Facebook timeline into a company archive of the awesome stuff they've done over the years. And so that's one I would pretty much listen to. There's a lot of chatter online, and basically there was a survey done that said only 36% are worth reading. 36% of the posts, 36% of the tweets are the only things really worth reading, because people always feel like they have to say something. So if not everybody is liking your posts, don't be offended. Just keep on keeping on. If you find out over a period of time that nobody is liking your post, evaluate your time of day, what you're saying, what you're sharing. Be critical, but don't be discouraged if you don't get instant results. Remember, it's over time. Be brief. On Twitter, it says 140 characters. Try to make it 110, because you want to be able to retweet, and you want to be able to have that RT and the @ symbol with your name fit along with the tweet, so nothing gets cut off. So your message is shared in full. So try to keep your tweets around 100 and 110 characters. Use tools like Hootsuite and Buffer app. Both of them, anytime you share a link, has a trackable URL. So if you want to see what the return on investment is and how many people click through on this, you'll be able to go to your analytics on Hootsuite and go, that post, 5 people clicked the link. Okay, people like that kind of content. I'm going to remember to do something like that next time. And if you look at the cake sheet, you'll see there's a little Twitter lingo list and kind of the things. It's its own language because it's like text lingo. You only have so much space to say what you want to say, so things get shortened, and this is kind of the quick list on how to properly talk online. And just be on the lookout for the future things in social media. Start playing with LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+, Instagram if you're an iPhone person, soon coming to Android. Apps like Foursquare, why would people want to share where they're at all the time? don't hate the player, hate the game. People are doing it, so understand it. Yeah, do it all the time.
Like you doing it? I mean,
I'll do it when I'm done here. I'll check it. I'm at the East Bank
I
Saloon.
already did on Twitter.
Good man. So start investigating the things you might think are obscure. Push aside the skepticism and just start testing it out. It's free. Why wouldn't you?
So this is something I learned. Many things I learned tonight, but the dot before the at, I did not know that.
Anytime you start a tweet with the at symbol, it's only viewable to that person because you're talking to them,
Right.
and anybody you might mutually follow.
Right.
If you want to say, Cake PDX was a great place,
Yeah.
you're only telling me.
Right.
If you put that dot symbol,
Right.
you're telling everybody Cake PDX was a great place to be at.
Right. So yeah. So without it, you're telling Cake PDX and your followers.
And your followers that
And their-
also follow Cake
I'm
PDX,
sorry, their-
mutual
Wait,
followers.
what about Cake PDX followers? Are they seeing it at?
No, it's only the people who you follow and Cake PDX that follow you and Cake PDX.
Okay, good. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. But when you put that dot, then it goes out to everybody.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Little tricks you see people all the time do that stuff.
all the people who are following you.
Yeah, everybody, all the people that are following you.
Because I definitely use that, like, I mean,
You want to address people by their names, and that's what you think you're doing, but it's only going to them and the
Right.
people that follow you mutually.
yeah, I mean, I use that kind of strategically. Like, I have, luckily, Tyler Florence follows me, a big celebrity chef, right? Which is kind of launched me. It's fantastic.
Those are those great things you want to get.
Yeah, it's like 300,000 followers. It's great. So whenever I tweet at him, it goes out to 300,000 people. Right?
It goes out to
Right.
the 300,000 people, those that follow you and him only.
Oh,
Mutual
only
follow
both.
people who follow the both of you.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the bad part. It's not all 300,000 people.
Although he does retweet me.
Yeah, and
Great.
that's what you want. Then that goes out to everybody.
But if it goes out to, but if I do the dot at, then
It will go out to
followers.
all your followers, but not all of his followers.
Oh,
It won't
okay.
go to his followers.
But
Only if he
also-
retweets it.
Okay, good to know. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. It's a lot to cover. I'm long-winded, and at the same time, you can get hyper detailed in this. Future Cake sessions are going to break a lot of this down into Facebook only, Twitter only. So just keep that in mind. Keep liking us on Facebook and find out what we're doing. I think Graham mentioned at the beginning, we're donation based. So whatever you can give, it helps us out to keep these going. Generally to buy cakes, but thanks to Akiko from 5th Season Design, she baked a cake for us. So that was an excellent
Well,
donation.
you guys have helped me out a lot, so I was like, oh.
Thank you. So, generally it goes to stuff like that and keeping the website going and producing the printed materials and so forth. So whatever you can give is appreciated, and we're going to cut here on the live video if you haven't already.
Yep.
Take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll do the workshop portion of Cake where we actually will take one of your businesses and break it apart and kind of help you get through the social media side of things.